everybody, this is the Game Hunted channel with another episode of Clash Royale, and in this episode I want to share with you guys my killer deck. This deck has been working quite okay for me in the Royal Arena, so that's why I decided to share with you guys. It's only one epic card, and that is the Baby Dragon. And the only reason I have it is because it's Baby Dragon, so I cannot remove that card. Maybe I can change it. Yeah, I can easily change Baby Dragon, but you know what? That's why I like Baby Dragon in here, because it makes everything even more cooler. One of my favorite cards in the game. So let's take a look to the cards before going to a battle. The first one is the Fireball. Even when you suffer a 20% reduced damage against towers, it's still a quite powerful and useful card. The reason is, if you land the Fireball in the correct spot, you can do a lot of damage to an army of barbarians. Just to give you an example, right? You can destroy goblins, and it's quite okay against crown towers. Even when the damage is not that great, right now it's doing like 190 at level, I think it's level 5, but it's still a worth it card. It's, I would call it like a crowd control card. Like I mentioned before, a lot of people use barbarians in the Royal Arena, so the Fireball is working quite okay for me. If I deploy the Fireball in the middle of that army of barbarians, trust me, they're gonna lose a lot of hit points. My second card is the Knight. This is a love and hate card. I used to love it when I started playing the game, and then I changed my mind, and then now that I reached some high level arenas, you're gonna probably like the Knight one more time. Why? Because at this point you really need to start worrying about the elixir that your cards are consuming, right? And having the Knight with only 3 elixir is huge, man. That's huge. That means that you can deploy the Knight quite often on the battlefield, right? A lot of hit points, decent damage. You can put the Knight and take care of a Hog Rider, for example, or you can put the Knight and do some decent damage against a giant or any other tanks unit. So it's another card that you should probably try. You should probably try. Again, this is just my opinion. This is the deck that is working for me, depending on my game style. But the Knight is working really well. And again, 3 elixirs, you cannot go wrong. Hog Rider, of course. Hog Rider has to be in my deck. It's a no-brainer because it's really fast. It destroys towers extremely fast too. And to be quite honest, it's one of those cards that really bother your opponent. Okay, as soon as the opponent sees that you have a Hog Rider, they're gonna start thinking twice before deploying units on the battlefield. The only downside of the Hog Rider is that it's gonna target structures or buildings first, so it can get extremely distracted if you put a tombstone or anything. That's the only issue with the Hog Rider. But in combination with Freeze, for example, the Hog Rider is one of the best cards that you can have in this level of the game. And if I'm not wrong, according to the studies, this is probably one of the most used cards in the game right now. So again, I cannot go wrong. This is my punch card, right? When I need to go back, I need to go and bring down a tower as soon as possible. Hog Rider is right there in combination with the Knight. Can do some decent damage. Britney Spears in the house. I cannot go wrong with this card. I cannot go wrong for several reasons. Number one, I call this card Britney Spears, and it was really cool to see people in another YouTube channels actually calling the card Britney Spears too. So that was really cool. And number two is because, yeah, number two, 2 elixir, super cheap. You can have a group of 3 goblins, 3 Britney Spears goblin doing some decent damage. They do some decent damage against towers too, and they complement quite okay with the Knight and the Hog Rider. That is the main reason that why Britney Spears is in my deck. All right, Arrows is coming back to my deck. Reason is because it's a crowd control card. That works really good against skeletons, goblins, even archers, sometimes barbarians. So you cannot go wrong with another defensive card. Musket here, she's coming back. She was my favorite card when I started playing the game, because the concept of the unit, it's so cool. She looks so badass that I was really sad once that you reach some other levels of the arena and you find out that the Whizzer is way more powerful or useful than the Musketeer. But now with the latest patch, she's getting an 11% extra damage. That's an interesting card to have in your deck, because it complements really well with the units like the Giants, for example. but also it's a really good defensive card. Really, really good. The Whizzer. You cannot go wrong with the Whizzer. I think this is another of the favorite cards in the whole war in Clash Royale, because it's so useful. The splash damage is just ridiculous. It does some decent damage against minions, right? Minions go down in 2 seconds when they see the Whizzer, and they can actually provide a good support for some other units like the Hog Rider, for example, and the Knight when they're fighting against towers or barbarians, for example. They can actually do some decent damage to an army of barbarians. So the Whizzer, you need to stay in my deck. And baby dragon, of course, because it's cute. I have no other excuse or reason to explain why baby dragon is in my deck, because baby dragon, it's cute. And the other reason is the splash damage. It gets some area damage, as you can see on the screen. 121 is not bad. Actually, the baby dragon can take care of a goblin army of, for example, Britney Spears in 2 seconds. In 2 seconds. And if you're trying to counter an army of barbarians, the baby dragon is another good card because of the splash damage and the damage itself. Alright, you guys are ready? This is my killer deck. Let's put the deck to the test. Let's go to the Royal Arena one more time to put the killer deck to the test. Okay, so we're gonna start with Arrow, Britney Spears, Fireball, Knight. My opponent, Hog Rider, Britney Spears, Fireball, Archer, well, pretty much the same. It's almost like a mirror match, and also Barbarians. That's a tough one. So let's get this party rolling. My next card is gonna be the Musketeer. So we're gonna start probably more defensive stand. All the units that I have, they're not like a killers, right? So we're gonna start with a Fireball just to bother my opponent, just to let them know, you know what? We're not here to just be nice. We're gonna be super annoying. So we're gonna start with this. Barbarians are coming. We're gonna be more defensive, like I mentioned before. I don't have any killer cards in my deck at this point, but this is the big group of units that are coming. Hog Rider, Barbarian, Britney Spears, Archers, but we were able to hold the ground with a Knight, Musketeer, and also Arrows. It wasn't too bad, right? There was a lot of units coming this way, but we were able to stop them on their tracks. Now it's time for us to counter with the Hog Rider and Musketeer. Look at these guys. Now I have a little bit more of Elixir, so I can deploy Britney Spears to provide some support. And the first tower went down in 2 seconds. Look at my Musketeer still alive against that Knight, which is something that you don't see that often, right? The Knight is really ultra powerful, to be quite honest. Britney Spears coming this way. Whizzer on defense. We're gonna save a little bit of Elixir until we get close to the main tower of my opponent before deploying some other units. Probably will be interesting to see what the opponent is gonna do. They deploy a Hog Rider. So it's time for me to be in another defensive stand. Musketeer, Knight, we were able to bring down the Hog Rider in 2 seconds. That arrow came a little bit late. It's time for me to counter with my killer deck. Hog Rider in front, Knight is coming, Musketeer here, Britney Spears providing some support against the Tesla Tower, and we are doing much better. Britney Spears also on defense, but look at the Musketeer. Musketeer still can hold the ground. That's actually something really cool. And Baby Dragon with the cuteness. You cannot go wrong with the cute Baby Dragon. 206 hit points left, more than enough for me to use Arrow and then finish this battle with Fireball. See, really cheap deck because it's I believe it was only 3.6 Elixir, but quite effective. All around deck that you definitely need to give it a shot is the killer. I will call it baby dragon killer. I don't know, just call it killer deck. This is the Game Hunter. I will see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.